Here we are, March 12th. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your support. Gordon Nathaniel here, Toxic Reality Show, for another fine episode of what is happening and is exciting with the Toxic Reality Show as we go live. That being said, tonight's episode, look, I don't want to be too long. We're going to get right into the chase. The topic is, and it's being reported all over the news, 2.7 million women, single women, own more homes than men. Something like 10 million of the homes are women and only 8 million are men. Oh my gosh, women are doing phenomenally, fantastic. They're doing awesome. Men suck. Blah, 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 blah. All right, so here we are. That's the narrative. And I am going to, let's see. I'm going to go ahead. I got multiple screens going on here. And what I want to see are the comments on this thread to see what people are saying. Once again, invite you all to visit us on YouTube, where your brother's trying to get monetized over there. However, I gotta show some love here. That we are monetized on Facebook. So gotta show big love to all of the ladies who have been hating. I couldn't do it without you. I thank you, ladies, so much. And and the thing is this, there are women who genuinely are fit, fine, feminine, submissive, bring peace to your home and your life, want to be a helpmeet. So I would be insensitive if I didn't mention and shout out these women, because you hear so much of me, and it's always like modern women, single mothers. It's not to say all, just most. And the purpose of the show, I'm not here to talk about, and badger and belittle. I'm here more to support young men who are coming up to not make the same mistake. And in addition, I'll move this over to the other screen so I can see y'all. Yeah, so it's not to belittle, but what I'm trying to do here is educate, right? To not make the mistakes. You have a lot of people inside this manosphere space that will tell you about, without lived experience. Gentlemen, ladies, what I bring to you here is lived. Ooh, thank you, Gerard Lou, for the love. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I got to get a round of applause thing going here, but so I would be remiss to not mention that, right? That there are women out there who are fit, fine, feminine, bring peace to your life, enjoy having sex, and want to submit, right? But we spend so much time on the women who are not. And it's more so for you young men who are coming up to be able to identify, to see the red flags. We talk a lot, if you watch my series, I throw up red flags. It's a penalty flag. There's a man down on the play. There's a disqualification. This is not a yellow card and you continue to play with her. It is a red card. It is a red flag. Immediate expulsion. Leave the grounds. You cannot play with this. Right? And that's what we are here for. Is to warn you of the pitfalls, because I myself have made tons of mistakes. Like our dear departed brother Samuel's, 2-time divorcee. And it's not to say it's all women's fault. Sure, I shared in some of that. But as you become more empowered and more educated in this space, and you learn from people like myself who have lived experience, not telling you why you shouldn't, but I got experience to say why you shouldn't. And experience for why you should. And I would ask you to please heed that message. Because if you don't, you will end up potentially either on suicide watch. 25% of men commit suicide. Happens to be post-divorce and breakup. Part of the reasons could be alienation of their children, just the evil that the woman has turned into on you. The courts are against you. You're demonized as a man. That the effects that it has on your children, and every metric, the child suffers when raised by a single mother. Right? These are numbers that we can't get around. It's like, oh no, Gordon. What about fathers? If fathers were involved, right? Here's how you can support us. By the way, I'm gonna put that up there. Um, Fathers do share a role, but fathers can't share in the role when they're not allowed to be present. We see the memes talking about, you know, men didn't fight for their children. Well, why do they have to fight at all? That being said, I want to make sure we get into this topic because this is a good one. So 2.7 million more homes are owned by single women. And we don't want to berate the ladies in this. We're going to go to the straight statistics, and I will warn you that there's something to take heed. And that is there was a lot of glorification of why we should all be happy, and we should. Another person is able to afford a home by themselves, things that men have been doing traditionally over the years. But what's interesting, and I hate to use the cliche term, the devil is in the details. But as you read more and more and ask the question, why? Why are more women homeowners than young men, single? Over 65, we see the statistics, and I'm going to jump into it. We see the statistics when they're over 65, what the issue is. And what we're experiencing over 65 is men live to about 73. Women live to 79. So women are living longer. And by proxy, now guess what? A guy who's 30 isn't marrying a 35, 40-year-old by and large. He's marrying someone younger. So you see a 30-year-old guy marrying a 26, 28-year-old, and there's already a 4 or 5 year gap in terms of life expectancy. It now turns to about 8 years. And what are men doing with those 8 years? Well, our role as men is to be the protector, the provider, and offer leadership. So we're not having the wife outside in extreme weather doing work. The wife isn't driving a semi. The wife isn't a police officer. We don't have the wife out there driving a truck and hauling crude. The wife is not on the roof of a home installing roofing shingles, excuse me. All of these jobs that are traditional male high-risk jobs, bridge building, you don't see many women out there doing, windmills, turbines. These skilled laborers, generally you find by and large in masculine roles. So already men have the riskier job that comes with, heck, even the coal miners. Well, Gordon, there are women who the exception is not the rule. So let's cut into some of these articles. And I'm going to point out you're going to find out why. And it's not just divorce. It's not just being a widow, but much more. Let's get into it. So our first article, right, is from the Daily Mail. We've got about 4 articles. And one of them is a Pew Research study. I'm going to restart that, and I'm going to pause it. A number of articles. I do like the Daily Mail. And the article says that 2.64 million more homes than single men in the U.S., despite earning 83 cents for every dollar a man makes on average. Okay, first of all, 58% of the homes they're saying are owned by women. This idea of continually quoting that women are making less than men is now becoming a farce and untrue. What women do that men cannot do is women give birth to children. By and large, most companies aren't lining up saying, I got a man here I'm paying 100 and a woman here I'm paying 83. I'm going to screw her over and give her 83 and risk lawsuit. No, what's happening is they're both getting paid $100,000 a year. And then if she takes off to have a child for 3 or 6 months, they're not paying her. Or she's getting a reduced amount while the company is paying for her to give birth to a child that some other man put in her. If I'm the boss, I gotta pay for some dude who had a happy ending with you, and I gotta pay you to be out. How's that fair? Nonetheless, these women are working, maybe in a diminished role, or they take off completely, and they reduce their salary 25%. So it's not like employers are sitting there. Do you realize the lawsuit that would come? You're paying a man 100,000 and a woman 83,000. Stop. And not to mention the other statistic that has come out: more graduates from college are women rather than men. Women have eclipsed over 52%. So this whole gender disparity thing is something that they keep running to try to create division between men and women when it's non-existent. And now here we are, 58% to 42% of U.S. single women, and this anomaly of this foolishness that they keep bringing up regarding wage disparity doesn't exist. Continue. They're talking about Louisiana, Alabama, South Carolina had the greatest share of single women owners. So basically in the South. The South. I thought the South hated women. On average, across the 3 states, single women owned 15% of all owner-occupied houses, where men were only 11%. Although the men earned more on average because the men are willing to take more risk. Right? We're not talking about there's a gazillion. Go into your neighborhood high school, middle school, your nurse's office in the hospital. The women are there. The men are doing the riskier jobs. It says women younger than 30 earn more than men than in cities like New York, D.C., Los Angeles. Right? Higher levels of education, more white collar employment. And there's the comparison of home buyer households. Of course, they talked about North Dakota, Wyoming, and Dakota. I'm looking up at our big screen. And of course, that makes sense. First of all, North Dakota, where there's the oil field, right? I was out in Williston. I had a trucking company out there. Williston, North Dakota, in the middle of the oil, shale oil, right? Where there's 95 men to every woman. Where 18-year-olds were out there driving dualies that cost over $100,000 because they were making $120,000 a year straight out of high school. And all of that oil field stuff, we're talking over 95% was all men. So, surprise. North Dakota, Wyoming, South Dakota, big oil producers, had the most single men homeowners proportionate. Right? And they continue on with the farce of 83.1% of what men earn. Well, men can't get pregnant. There's that interesting factoid. Men typically purchase homes that were $250,000 last year, compared to women who purchased homes that were $230,000. So women were buying less homes, right? And they continue. They talk about the sacrifices women were generally more likely to make, including, I love this part, cutting out non-essential spending. Who the heck wrote this nonsense? Women are at Ulta all the time buying makeup, getting Botox shots. And look, if you got social media, tell me I'm lying. Non-essential spending. Let me tell you, what are we talking about? We're talking about going out to dinner. And all of these women are like, Cheesecake Factory is not good enough. Who's paying for it? They're not cutting out non-essential spending. The men are paying for it. Taking second jobs. I agree. So many men will, and women were more vicious. If you're a full-time working guy making $50,000 to $100,000, and you tell a woman, hey, I do a little bit of DoorDash, some little side work on the side. They frown upon you, right? You're less than them. You're not worth it because you work another job making $10, $15, $20 an hour. You're a delivery boy. You do it as a part-time work, but it's okay for them, right? A chick will come up in a 20-year-old busted Honda Civic, let you show up on a date with a 20-year-old busted Honda Civic. You want to see judgment? There's your judgment for you. They won't even look at you the same. So not to mention a man on equal footing, a 30-year-old man, 30-year-old woman, she could show up with a rickety racket busted car. You got to show up in a freaking nice $80,000 pickup or a European sedan. We ain't talking 3 Series Beamer either. We're talking 5 and 7 Series to impress this woman. So yes, taking second jobs, canceling vacation plans. This article, madness. All these women do is post about guys send me their dating profiles of women all the time. I've seen them. They all talk about, I've been to 30 countries. Every one of them is touring. Every one of these women is seeing the whole world. I like to travel. I like to travel. I like to travel. Who the heck wrote this? Canceling vacation plans? These chicks do nothing but, quote, girls trip. Next one. So this one is interesting. Another explanation for the growing discrepancy is that women are becoming increasingly focused on careers and independence. NBC News reported. No denying that. They're delaying having children and prioritizing family. Meanwhile, their eggs are getting rotten and old. Again, you've heard me say this statistic many times, and we deal here in statistics. And that statistic is, oh, do I have another comment and I'm not even addressing my peoples? Another interesting statistic. A woman that gets pregnant at 30 years old, the child has a 1 in 1,000 chance of being autistic. When she turns 40, the chance increased to 1 in 100. So when you see women talking about, I'm open to having kids at 40 years old, red flag. Red flag. You are rolling the dice on autism, Down syndrome, and a host of other birth defects because the eggs are. So ideally, the best time for a woman to conceive and have a child is 18 to 28. Every year after in her mid-20s, the chance increases. Right? So anyway, women are more career focused now than previous generations. We want to be smart with our money and make an investment that sets ourselves up for the future rather than relying on marriage or waiting for a man to provide the life we want. That was Beatrice de Jong told NBC. More and more single women are buying homes, and I expect to see this continue. Yes, it will, because many of us men have been through the hurdle of buying a home only to lose it in divorce or through any kind of debt crisis. The next crash of the economy, with all these women holding mortgages and no husband, ooh, pay attention. This economy crashes again. Who's going to be holding the bill? There's going to be a lot of foreclosure. It's better to be as a team. By yourself? Anyway, and here's a great another explanation for the difference is that women keep the house after a divorce. The courts aren't your friend. They always, almost historically, even the guy will be like, well, she's got the kids. I'll just go ahead and move into a 1-bedroom shack or studio someplace and sleep on an air mattress. The man has to start all over again from scratch. Nick Nice, J.A., what's going on? Cedric said, which it will. Jonathan said, real talk, and you can make more money than her. And they end up sowings in student loan debt. That is actually factually true, Jonathan Poe. In a recent study, same Daily Mail, I did not release it. Red flag, black women lead the nation in student loan debt in the United States. They also lead black men in home ownership. They are debt heavy. And many, by and large, they're ranked last in the world scale of men choosing women who they would marry. So they got attitude, don't want to submit, and the most debt. We ain't even talking about kids. Right? So, this article, let's continue on. It says that Historically, in divorce, women take the house, and that is still primarily true. You're dang right. Nicole Middendorf told NBC, you're going to see her name pop up in a couple different articles. The guy is generally the one moving out. Happened to me. And that affects these statistics. Absolutely. Yes, Gordon. Gordon Nathaniel, your host. I moved out. Had to move into an apartment. And you know, guys, you know the memes and the stories. You start off with a quiet, empty house. That is, oof, that's a hard feel. And your first night is on the floor in your new apartment. You got to buy everything all over again. Courts don't care, neither do the women. Next. That's it. But here we go. More of the propping up the falsehood and delusion of women. This does not, however, explain the National Association of Realtors data, which considers the number of home buyers as opposed to the number of homeowners. Right? So, new article. Single women own more homes than single men. Here's what they're doing differently. Single women accounted for nearly 20% of the home purchases. Hey, you can't knock them. This, again, who's the author? Nicole Spector. Got a woman. It's back from 2020. This was based on a report from Lending Tree. Right? Now, again, got to read the details. This one was a good one. We talk about a 31-year-old single woman who's about to purchase a duplex. Now, this is actually pretty smart. She's renting out one side and lives in the other. Says, I have a large down payment and saved and plan to use the rental income to pay the mortgage and eventually buy more properties. Smart move. Definitely pricing herself out of the dating market. Wilson isn't well off, nor is she getting a loan with a cosigner guarantor. She's single, makes $45,000 a year. Mind you, I'm a licensed loan officer. We're talking about she can afford about a $200,000 home. Smart move is that 75% of the rental income is going towards her debt, or not a debt, her income ratio. So she's well able to afford this. She also paid off $33,000 in student loan debt. Old girl was working part-time. Best believe that. She knocked it out because on a $45,000 salary, the math ain't mathing. Money came from somewhere. See, again, disingenuous. How do you live on $13,000? What did you eat? You went out on, what is that, the article that's come out? That 30% of women that you go out on a date with, they have no intention of being they aren't sexually attracted to you. They're going out for a free meal. There's one article, an Asian woman said that she went out for a year. So when you go ahead and buy her a meal, she takes that doggy bag, she's bringing it home. She either gives it to Brad, Chad, Fabio, Marco, or Pookie to have while he's smashing her that night. You paid for the meal, or she brings it for lunch the next day. Essentially goes her whole year without paying for any meals. And these are nice meals because you've paid for it, right? It happened to me too. If you marry the wrong woman, she'll ruin your life. Brother, say it for the ones in the back who can't hear you. Absolutely will destroy you. And the road to recovery after divorce or breakup is a steep one because we don't have Section 8 and all of these programs and free college and free this, that, and the other, and housing and a car and all these allowances. Men don't have that. We don't get that. So, Wilson isn't off. She's 60, whatever, 33,000, 45 a year. She said, I've saved aggressively for a home because my whole adult life. Listen, if the average is that these women are spending $250 on a home, and with an FHA loan, you only got to put down 3.5%. She came up with 10 grand. Probably the seller offered 2020. Seller was offering closing cost assistance, blah, blah, blah. She showed up with 10, 15,000 and got into the house. They used the income of the property to help her with her debt to income ratio because at 45,000 she was a little tight, but with the rental income coming in, she was strong. It was a no-brainer. Right? As long as she had decent credit, we're talking over a 620, she was good. More and more single women are buying homes. I expect to see this continue in 2020. This is, again, the National Association of Realtors. But here's interesting. A new report from Lending Tree found that single women own more than 1.5 million more homes than men, right? kind of a repeat of the same thing. And again, they had Nicole Middendorf. Remember, I told you, pay attention to that name. A financial advisor and certified divorce financial analyst. And now, analyst. She said the guy is generally the one moving out, and that affects these statistics. That is not the sole reason. I'm going to get you to that. We're going to cross it. Women are rising in the labor force. Absolutely. You know, Tendayi Kapidze's chief economist at LendingTree, partly from women's steady rise in the labor force. Absolutely. But how are we arguing that they're not making money? I thought it was 83%. They're not making any money. So they are making money. Like, stop the... Right now, the labor force participation rate for women is 58%. It's generally been on an upward trend, though it is a dip after the Great Recession. Remember, I told you that. The Great Recession, that was 2008, when all of those strong, independent women who were sitting in the home by themselves lost those little white-collar jobs. That's where the first layoffs happened. They weren't getting rid of the guy that's building roads and bridges and maintaining infrastructure. No. Companies decided to get lean and mean, and they cut the fat. Oops, didn't mean to say that. But I did. According to the latest job report from the Bureau of Statistics, women outnumber men in the workforce. So you mean to tell me that these women are racing to take jobs to get 83 cents on the dollar? You see the messaging, right? They want to keep this farce going. When zooming on the data, you see that companies owned by women of color actually grew at double the rate, 43%. Right? So these women are making more money. They're not racing to jump into a market that pays them less. No, they're getting paid. And good for you. There's a home tax deduction when you buy a house. Again, I encourage men. I've done loans, gentlemen. And let's pause from the statistics. I've had single mothers that I've done loans for. And honestly was shocked. You're talking, she's making $45, $50 a year, and I'm thinking, okay, you know, I wonder how we're going to go with this. Is she going to tell me she has no money? She wants to go with down payment assistance and closing cost assistance. And I said, you know, can I see your reserves? Can you send me a copy of your bank statement? Out of the 4, not one had less than 30 grand in the bank. And I'm saying to myself, she's got 2 kids making 45, 50, and 30 grand in the bank? You guys, you spend a lot of money on these women taking them on dates. Because I don't think she has a lot of time for a second job. Now, it's child support. That's the only other extra cash she got. You guys are taking her out for dinner, paying for all her meals so that she can come back and feed the kids. One thing that none of these articles, and I'm going to save it, I'm going to drop the bag. Men, you simps out there are spending too much money on these women. You're giving them money to the point that you don't even have enough to buy a house. If you are spending $100 a date, let's look at it, right? You go out with a chick, you order a margarita, they're $12 each. You have 2 each, right? We're up to what, $48. Then you ordered an appetizer, $15. We're at $65. 2 meals at $20 each. We're at $105. And then the tip, you double the first number of the 105, that's 20. So now we're at $125. And you do that 3 times a week. That's $375 that you've spent on women trying to figure out which one I really like, because there's a chance, 30% again, one of them went out with you and she only wanted a free meal. These women aren't paying money to go out on dates. They're enjoying the privilege of being women. You see, they want traditional men. They want the man to pay for the meal, pick you up. Nowadays, you know, they're beating you there, right? You don't even got to pick them up. They're meeting you on a date and expecting you to pay for it, right? And then you go ahead and pay for this meal. What's up, Jameson? Women usually get the kids, so a man will leave the home to the woman for the kids. That's what we do, because we're men. Joshua's spot on, right? And you know, and it's crazy because in our programming, in our brain, that's what you're supposed to do. What? Why don't you take the house? You paid for it. The things we do that I've done as a man, simp stuff. Even we went to the counseling session. The counselor said, "Why did you take the hit on the credit when you're the breadwinner?" Because we men, it's programmed into us, and women know it. It's programmed into us to lay on the sword to defend the family. So many men I know took the credit hit. Oh, I didn't pay my truck note. I didn't pay this because the kids needed food. Well, did she take a hit? No. So then when it's time to buy a home, here's one of my tidbits. When it's time to buy a home, the man can't because he screwed his credit trying to keep everything going. And in a way, and said, you and I are together. I positioned you to be in the place to be able to buy because we're together. So if one of us buys the house, it's okay. And then she goes and buys the house and never puts you on the title. Ooh. Breach, Jonathan said. Good evening, Taishi, man. What's up? She buys the house, never puts you on the title. And you sitting out there exposed. You have no share of the equity, but you paying the bills. You paying the mortgage, but your name ain't on it. Make it make sense. All right. So continuing with the article. Women are raised to be more risk averse than men. In this instance, that pays off, right? They're saying because women want safety. They want security. And a 30-year mortgage offers a consistent payment every month. The guy's out there busting his tail trying to make sure he can provide, protect, and lead. Next article. This is a 2019 study. Women tend to be more conservative, which is good when buying a house, said Middendorf. The same one who said, she knew the statistics. She's like, when a dude leaves a relationship, he leaves her the house. So that Chad or Mario or Pookie has a place to sleep while he's banging your ex in front of your kids, walking around with his schlong hanging out in your slippers in the house that you're paying for. Said, aim to save 20% for down payment. These women ain't putting 20% down. Girl, stop. PMI is usually required. Talk to a lender sooner or later. Call Gordon. Think about renting a room to make some money back. See, and here's the funny part. These are the dualities of what happens in relationships. If a woman comes to visit me and sees that I have a roommate, I'm a scrub. Oh, he got a roommate. He renting out. He can't afford it. But a woman with a 2-bedroom condo, we don't blink an eye. Oh, she lives with it. She has a roommate, makes a little extra money. But women say they want equality, but then judge us for the same things. So not only do we have to take them out to dinner, and I love this, right? I seen this one guy. He's talking about, you men, a woman has to get her hair done and her nails, and she has to get pretty for the date, and all of this foolish stuff. And I'm sitting there listening to this, so like, and it could, and the women in the background, yes, King, yes, they're up there snapping their fingers, about, it could be $500 that she spent to get ready for that date. Really? So after she goes out with me, she gonna wash her hair and take off all of that stuff that she bought. She's gonna take whatever outfit she picked out and burn it after we go out. Or she got her hair done, her nails done, her makeup, and for the next 2 weeks before she goes to the hair salon again, or month, she's gonna be rocking that same set of nails, that same hair that she got done, and break that $500 expense amongst 20 guys. So how much did she really spend? And mind you, I got to show up. I can't show up in the Honda Civic she driving, the 20-year-old busted thing. I got to look like I got money. So now I got to show up with an $80,000 truck, a $100,000 European car. I got to show up in a 300, a Charger. Guys, you know what I'm talking about. I got to show up with double the amount of money. She only paid $15,000 for the dang Civic. I'm showing up in a $70,000 ride to demonstrate that I have provision. I'm courting this woman. See, the rules are they want us to be traditional, but it's not them. They want to enjoy the privileges of being masculine and you being traditional. So if we're going to talk about the $20 per date, your expense between 20 dudes, so you want to help me with this truck note? You want to kick in a piece of this $600 truck note? Oh, you like my boat? You want to kick in on some of the money that it costs to be on the boat? Right? These guys don't see that, but these women got you suckered. You didn't spend all that money to look special just for me. You got other dudes lined up. And the statistics prove it. Right? So, love this article, right? She says in this one, Faith Fox, a lawyer based in Charlotte, bought her first home in 2010. Here comes the key line. Now, notice this is the end of the article, number 4, after telling us women are doing this all by themselves because those lazy men don't want to work and they don't know how to spend money right. And and women don't spend on vacations. They don't spend on dinners and frivolous expenses. They're just so much more responsible than men. Buried at the end of the article. Don't let them block your light. Faith Fox, a lawyer based in Charlotte, North Carolina, bought her first home in 2010 as what? As a single mom bringing in $35,000 a year. Brothers, single mom, child support. Let me tell you, at $35,000 a year, maybe $125,000, $150,000 condo, maybe. But with a child and daycare expenses, this was before she became a lawyer, before she was even in law school. So she was working full time and a child. Child support. They didn't want to. You save that for the end. Gotten all these women believing, yeah, girl, they just irresponsible. We the ones that spend money right. Some friends and family were rooting her on, but then there were naysayers insisting she was making the wrong choice. I'll tell you something, gentlemen. Speaking from experience, you get with a woman that owns a house. First of all, ancient scripture says, thou shalt not move in with a woman who owns her own home. Thine ass will be fried. What that means, gentlemen, is you move in with a woman, all of a sudden, in her home, you ain't never heard a woman say get out like you see a woman that owns their own house. They the queens are telling you to get out. Get out, get out. A man, if I got a child with a woman, I'm not telling her to get out. She got a child. We got a kid together. Them? Oh, hell no. They don't give a rat's tail. Get out. They quick to drop, right? And then what else happens? You become Mr. Handyman, when normally handymen were paid. Oh, I remember I painted the whole interior of a home. 20-foot ladder I had to pull out because the scaffolding was so high. Everybody else wanted to charge an extra $500 to $1,000. Honey, will you go ahead and paint it? You're so good at doing work. I had leaking toilets, countertop replacement, fixing the door, fixing this, fixing that. Hot water heater goes out. Fix this. I don't even own this house. I'm not on title. But I'm doing all the repairs. Yard work on a house that ain't mine. I'm telling you, don't do that simp stuff. Learn from example. Don't do it. But here we have the devil in the details. She was paying $650 a month for an apartment. No, she had child support. I just stopped dealing with them and stayed focused on what I wanted, a house for myself and my kids. She had more than one. Which means daycare was too expensive, which means there was a man involved to help you get that. And here's the messed up part. He's sending in child support money. She's collecting it. It's taxed on his side. She gets it tax-free. And then when she owns this house outright, does he have ownership interest in the home that he helped contribute to buy? No. Without the security to continue on of knowing my family would always have a place to stay, I likely would have not applied or attended law school in my 40s. You see this, man? Now, I want to get to this final article. So, because we're already 40 minutes into this and I've gone way over time. This, oh, sorry, New York Post. We'll skim through this. By the numbers, it boils down to 2.7. We've gone over a lot of the statistics here. They got 12% of the housing stock over, 10 million women, 8 million men. We've seen a lot of this. This is a cute article that I did, but this is the one that I want you to see. The Pew Research Center. Now, you've heard 3 different articles from 3 different, one a British Daily Mail, NBC News. You've seen all of these organizations basically say that's just because women are smarter and making more money. Well, not at 83 cents. They still, even with less, are doing it, right? Good evening, everyone. Taishi, what's going on? Preach. I'm doing my best, brother. I'm bringing you to the finish line now. Recent news stories have highlighted this phenomenon that women own more. Now, here's the thing. They said, interesting, Pew Research said the gap is narrowing. See, this is why you got to read more than one news source, because you got the propaganda by the feminazis with the false delusional reinforcement towards these women. And I'm gonna cue my music because this is where it's about to get good. So, over the long term, however, the gap is narrowing. Let's get next slide. Look at that. Women are a declining majority of single homeowners. Lord. Oh, shoot. In 2000, only 36% of single men were homeowners. Fast forward 22 years, 6% more home ownership with men. Notice how they paint the graph as it's going down. But for women, in 2000, they were 64% of single homeowners. They've dropped 6%. What has changed? Less men are getting married to avoid divorce because they realize from the idiots in 2000, when you leave that house, 64% of the women are coming up off of your back. This is the devil in the details. This is the red flag. This is men waking up and saying, oh, heck, I'm avoiding divorce so I can keep my assets. The women, they're reporting that there's still more. Yes, keep reporting that, but show what's happening. 6% drop on both metrics means men are saying enough. The red pillars, the toxic realities, the Gordon Nathaniels are breaking through to men. This is what's happening. Does that explain the shift? No. Women held over single men is due more to their numbers than the economic player, especially among older Americans. Because what happens? The husband dies. She gets the house. So an older man is marrying a younger woman, whether it's 2 or 3 years. I mean, your granddaddy is probably 2 or 3 years older than your grandma. She already got a 6 to 8 year life expectancy that's stronger. So what happens? She's going to be lonely for the next 6 years after he dies from breaking his back so that she could sit up in the house all day and complain. Among the households headed by unmarried persons 65 and older, about 6 million more headed by women than men. Yes, because they're outliving us because we're dying, killing ourselves, working to provide for the house and the family. So they can complain about how hard it is working in the house. Meanwhile, we walking on construction sites making sure something doesn't drop and hit us in the head. 22%, blah, 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 because women tend to live longer than men. Pew Research said it. I want you to make sure you see that graph, though. Men number are going up. So basically, if we go with another 6 years, men will be at 48%. Women down to 52 will be about par. Or even worse. Help me get there. The more viewers and visitors I get to the Toxic Reality Show, more men will learn and we will save more men. And hopefully some of the women will convert, become submissive and reattach themselves, reacclimate themselves to being feminine. We're not looking for a man who owns a home. We're looking for a wife, feminine woman. Continuing on, U.S. households headed by single women have lower income and less wealth than those headed by single men. Again, they're not including childbirth, women taking off of that. But the median income for single women is 49 grand, and for men it's 61. Y'all ain't in the oil field. You're not electricians. You guys are doing social worker work, making 45, 50 a year, and school teachers. You're not doing the jobs that require more rigorous activity. And that's why. It's not because employers are sitting there saying, I ain't paying or nothing. It's because you chose to major in sociology. You had a majored in something, math, or any kind of STEM field, you'd be making more. As women in D.C., New York, and other cities. That was the Pew Research. The detail is this, gentlemen. As we move more and more as a society, and should you choose to operate and engage with the modern women, again, different from a traditional woman, modern woman, you have to understand that going into that relationship, she has a home. You can't move into a home that somebody was doing sperm shots in the bed. You got memories in it. She got to sell that. Now, if you say, oh, well, Gordon, we could just keep it as a rental property. We French now. Your name on the title. If your name ain't on the title, there is no we. You got to sell it. Because guess what that is? Oh, he peed on this toilet seat again. I'm leaving. I got a house. It's an exit strategy. Neither of you should have an exit strategy. You both should be in a home together that you are working to build a future. If she constantly knows I got an exit strategy, using basically her last name, you might as well go ahead and allow her to keep talking to her ex-boyfriends, because, as again, statistically, 1 in 4 women's got a guy on the shelf ready to replace you. That house is one. You can't even be, if you're not on title, oh hell. Relationship isn't a good deal. Cedric said it. Yes. Nick Nice, yeah, that was funny. You like my scroll. But these are the things that we need to talk about. Gentlemen, if you're spending $300 a week going out on dates, times 52, we're talking like what? 15 grand? So the 62,000 minus the 15, now you're making less than a woman. You're at 45. You're at $45,000, $47,000, so you're making less than their average of 49. They're not paying for meals. Some of them are collecting child support. How am I competing with that? We're not going to acknowledge the obvious? Yes, the older are widows. Yes, there is child support. Yes, men are making more, but we're also, because we are more apt to operate traditionally, we have the greater expense. Oh, we ain't. Look nice, excuse me. Alimony. I didn't even say that with her. So she's making 35 grand a year with more than one child, so at least 2. She's getting child support, and if she's getting alimony as a mortgage loan professional, I can tell you, when we look at the paperwork, and the first thing I say to you is, do you have alimony? And she says yes. How long do you have it for? Because if you get alimony for more than 3 years, or it says on the paperwork, you're over 2 years with it left, what happens is we count that towards income as well. So one would argue that she kind of planned this divorce. She knew it, because basically, right when she left, chop, chop, got to move quick. Because the minute I waste 1 year, depending on how long she got for alimony, if she only got 3, she had to make moves quick within the first year. She knew what she was going to do when she left that relationship. And she got the child support. Yes. I bet you he didn't buy out. Because traditionally, she would have got the house with the kids. Heck, most guy would. You know, yeah, you take the house with the kids. I'm leaving. You know, I'll go ahead and sleep in the truck. You know, I just want what's best for the kids. Them, they never want what's best for the kids. It's all about their happiness. I put my happiness first. And they say, love yourself, queen. Love yourself. F them kids. Love yourself. She was concerned about her kids, but she bled the man dry. And his money is going towards paying for a home that he will never have ownership. Cedric said, finesse. Oh, yes, it is finesse. That's what we're dealing with. Yeah, alimony. Can't forget that. These courts are against you, gentlemen. You cannot. Repeat, these are age-old rules. I went back to the ancient scrolls. You cannot move in with a woman. You ain't never heard get out more than you do when you move in with her. You would have to sell. You walk in there with a black light, you're going to see sperm shots on the wall all over the damn place. You can't move into that. She got memories of dudes that were boring her out in that house. You can't. You have to be vulnerable for each other. They're not willing to do that. So here's the dating issue for them now. They're celebrating and championing. Now you own a home and the guy you're trying to date, he doesn't. How do you guys come together? You're not equally yoked. Now what? Now what's the problem? So, as I've done a show on this before, the best thing that you could wish a modern woman or an ex, their success. The more successful they get, the harder it is for them. That's why the statistic is 5 to 10 years after a breakup, after they fleeced you for all your resources, position themselves like, I did it, queen. I did it all by myself. Taking your child support money and putting it towards your 401k. After you're done fleecing these men, you celebrate. You're miserable because now you've priced yourself out. Why would a man want you with 2, 3 kids, 4 kids? Because you got your own house. I don't care about this girl. And that's them kids' house. Kids will be the first one to tell you, this is my mommy's house. It's not worth it. And then let's look at the other example. Okay, she's got a $500,000 house. You're like, well, you know, she's like, you know what? I had this house, but I want to build something together. You think you stepping up saying, well, I found this pretty nice house for $450, or I found this house for $550. No, she's gonna say, I could have had that when I was single. Cedric said, hope she's so successful she leaves you alone. Amen, brother, but they don't. They're miserable because now no men who make in their age, their wealth bracket will date them. When she turns 6 figures, you think 6-figure guys want her? No, they don't. So now they're even more resentful towards you because you're occupying their time with their box wine, their cat and dogs. Because now she can't get a man. Oh, sure, you can get a man to come by and drag his testes on your forehead and drain himself. He ain't committing. He ain't committing to that. It's a place to sleep, eat the kids' treats, drain himself, and keep it moving. And let the baby daddy take all the punishment from this girl being bitter. What do you say? They know they don't do you right. No, they don't. But you got to understand now. Back to my analogy. She got a $500,000 house. You step up now talking about we're going to buy a house together. You're going to have to spend at least $750 to make her happy. And she's going to be saying, I have $500 by myself. Being with you ain't a come up. So this woman now, because she bought a house, is going to end up costing you more in the long run. When I was single by myself, I had a $500,000 house. And now that I'm with you, I get a $500,000 house again? No. If we're coming together, now you got to spend even more money. And since you're the man of the house, you pay the mortgage. When if you would have just found a woman with no kids and didn't own a home, How can you as a man be sure? Especially, I'm speaking to the men now that have children. Where the courts can so willy-nilly, she decides she wants to pack up and move. You bought a house. Now what? Now you got to sell your house? These are the things you got to consider. If you want to date a woman that owns a home and take on the responsibility, because as a man, honestly, that's your responsibility. Maintenance. You just marry somebody with a house and just increase the work you got to do. What are you going to say? Babe, that's your house. You know, I'm messed up that your furnace went out. I don't know what you're going to do. So we going out to dinner tonight? She can be like, you're so inconsiderate. Ah, not my house. Boundaries, right? How did it become mine? Is my name on the title? So anyway. And I be regretting that. Cedric's words are never so true. That being said, appreciate it was way longer than expected, gentlemen. Really was, for some reason, thinking I was going to bang out a 15, 20-minuter. It's going almost an hour. But it's a great topic. And for you to understand what are some of the other issues, it's because men are still tricking these women off. They're not having to spend money. They're collecting child support, alimony. You know, and you're not even certain the kids are yours. Check out my last video, 51 years in marriage, and he finds out both of the children. 51 years married, 70-something-year-old man goes to look for a kidney for his brother, and both of his, quote, sons get tested to see if they're a viable blood donor or blood type for their kidneys, and he finds out both of the children are not his. 50 years married. Watch that video. That being said, gentlemen, we out.